Because I was coming back to myself. I was learning to love myself for the first time in my entire fucking life. I finally felt worthy of doing the things that I wanted to do. I finally let go of the fear that I held around making all of these choices. And this healing was like me stepping more and more into myself, reconnecting with all of the parts of myself that I had lost, that I was searching so desperately for in other people. You're listening to the Heartbreak Alchemy Podcast with Alaska Wolf. So something that my last heartbreak really taught me is that heartbreak is a messenger. It's here with something so specific to show you, to teach you, to bring into your awareness that maybe you've been trying not to see for a long time. And it's really specific, like laser specific. And I think a lot of the times we can lose sight of that because a heartbreak can be such a painful moment in our lives that we just get so overwhelmed with the emotion and the loss and the grief and the rebuilding that we don't look for the message, for the lesson. And if I've learned anything in my own healing journey and also working with so many women to move through their heartbreak, is that the lesson being learned is one of the most pivotal parts of the heartbreak healing. Like if you can move through your heartbreak and you can find the reason why. And I don't mean the reason of like, why did we break up, or like, why did this happen to me? But like, what is this experience here to teach me? What do I need to know? What is it in my life that needs to actually shift to allow me to stop choosing relationships where I don't have my needs met? What needs to shift in my life to allow me to make choices where I center myself and I prioritize myself and I make sure that my happiness and my fulfillment is at the core of everything I do? What is it that needs to change in my life to allow me to create a life that actually feels so much freaking bigger than what I have been choosing? Because sometimes we get stuck in these relationships and the relationship starts to feel like a straitjacket, because something that I hear a lot and something I used to say, I used to say this, when we're good, we're so good. But when we're bad, it's terrible. And that sentence to me is just like, it actually, like I have goosebumps when I say it, because I used to say this all the time. I used to say it all the time and think like, that's the trade-off. Like sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it's horrible. Like horrible. And that is such a trap. It's such a trap. Because it means that you are giving up such a huge percentage of your life to maybe have the other half, if you're lucky, third, quarter, by the end of your relationship. What was the percentages, you know? But the heartbreak is here to knock you out of that moment. It's here to actually wake you up. It's here to show you something that is so important, that is so pivotal for your next move in this life. You know, something that I really recognized in my last partnership, and something that I've been thinking about this weekend particularly, we really choose our partners from this very specific wounding that we carry. We carry this wounding from our childhood when we had a relationship with our caregiver, our mother, our father, stepmother, father, whatever it looked like for you, where there was something challenging and unresolved, and just like our definition of love became based on the most conflictual, the most challenging parts of our relationship with our caregivers. And then we go out there into the world and we choose a relationship that echoes that mirrors that finally might allow us to heal what has happened in the past in the current moment, right? Because we are like, oh, it feels the same. And so now if I can make this person love me, if I can make this relationship work, then it will mean that I can heal all of those experiences in the past where I didn't feel loved by the person I wanted to be loved the most by. And so we go out into the world and we try and find somebody that really gives us that same feeling of what we define as love subconsciously. Because in our mind, we might be going out there being like, yeah, I want someone loyal. I want somebody that's funny and present. But like the subconscious just wants to heal. Like your subconscious wants so badly to heal that it is willing to go out into the world and choose people subconsciously, not with your conscious mind. You are attracted to the people that make you feel the same feelings that you had in the worst parts of your relationship with your parents, because you want so badly to heal it. You want so badly to say, if I can make this person in the present reality love me, then it will mean that I can finally heal all of that tension, all of that like stress and anxiety from the past, of that feeling of not truly being loved. And it's so specific, like I'm going to give you an example of how specific this is. So with my ex-partner, something I used to say to him was, "You're the boy I'd like to be." And that might seem insignificant to you, but when you think about actually how our subconscious brain works, there's really two elements that will kind of code the way that we choose somebody, right? And the first one is we will be attracted to partners that embody the best and worst traits of our primary caregiver with whom we had the most conflict, like whoever we had the most difficult relationship with, their best and worst traits. So that's the first one. And the second one is that we will choose a partner that represents the parts of ourselves that we have repressed or disowned. Because ultimately, all that we really want from this world is to feel whole. Like almost everything you do in this world is to feel whole, to find the parts of yourself that you have pushed away to the side or pretended don't exist or just like repressed or disowned or whatever it is. And so for me, with my ex-partner, he really, really represented parts of me that I had repressed, that I had disowned, because I really wanted to be safe in this world. Like my primary desire, I think, pretty much throughout my life, because of the things that have happened in my life, was to be safe. But the partner that I was choosing, he was everything that I truly wanted to be. Like he was so open and free, and he just like could talk to anybody. He was so confident, and he was really in touch with himself, really in touch with his sexuality, really in touch with his sensuality. He was just really comfortable in these spaces where there was a lot of casual contact, like sensual touch and caring touch and just like cuddle puddles and all of these things where, wow, I wanted to feel comfortable there, but I just never did, you know? Like I always felt out of place or uncomfortable, or just like that I didn't fit in. I didn't really grow up in a household that had a lot of touch. Like we would kiss our parents goodnight, or we would say goodbye to them and give them a hug, but like there was not really a lot of casual touch in my family, and that was something I always really craved. Like I remember when we would be on holidays, we would go to Ireland sometimes to go on holidays in the summers, and my sister and I would end up sleeping in the same bed, and we would always like be like, "Oh my God, will you give me like a back tickle?" And I would just be like obsessed with it. But it was just not really something that was so easy in my family. And so when I grew up, there was always a part of me that felt very reserved. Like all of the physical touch that I would get in my life was always coming from my romantic partner, which meant that if I was in a relationship, then I would be getting touch. And if I wasn't, I wasn't. Like I just basically wasn't getting any touch. And, you know, something that's been studied a lot is that we need 8 hugs a day as humans just to like get by. That's not even like to thrive. 8 is like the bare minimum. And that's like a good solid hug, like 3-second hug, 4-second hug, 5-second hug. And so if I wasn't in a relationship, I wasn't getting any of those things, you know? And so when I met my ex-partner and I saw like all of these things, it was so attractive to me. Like it was so attractive to me. But in many ways, it actually made me feel incredibly unsafe, because with all the comfortability around touch and around sexuality and sensuality came that like very specific desire of wanting that open relationship. And so all of a sudden, all of the things that I really valued about our connection became the thing that made me feel completely unsafe in our connection. And I really didn't realize how much of a mirror my relationship with my ex-partner was of the relationship that I had with my mom until I actually got out of that relationship. Because my mom was an amazing woman. She was such a beautiful soul, but she was also bipolar, which meant that she had really high highs and incredibly low lows. And, as a child, that's a really challenging relationship to be in with somebody that is like that, because, it's really hard not to internalize when your mom is in bed for 4 days and she's crying and she can't look at you and she's always in her dressing gown, and like we would go to church and she would just be crying in church, and like I could never really understand it. Like, it's really hard not to feel like if you were a better child, or if you could do better, or if you could be something more, or like if you could just be better, then she would be happy and she would finally like smile and be okay, And then on the flip side of that, there's this really intense experience when your mom is like super manic and she's like so unpredictable, and it's wild and it's fun, and maybe she's going to book a trip to Ireland for all of us, or maybe she's going to cancel a holiday without telling anyone, or maybe she's just going to move, and maybe she'll be there and maybe she won't. And that's also really scary, because you start to feel like, okay, my mom, she's like not in bed anymore. I should be happy, but also she's super unpredictable and I don't know what's going to happen next, and if we're going to be safe, and like, is she going to be there? And like, it was a really challenging relationship model, especially like it was a challenging relationship to be in as a child, as a lived experience, but also as a model to set up for the rest of my life, because when I went out into the world and wanted to start dating and wanted to start falling in love with someone, ultimately this is what my subconscious was looking for. Like, I was looking for somebody that really gave me really high highs, but also brought in really low lows. And I found it because that was really what our relationship looked like. And, I look back and I see that the nuance of me choosing my ex-partner was also really based on what had happened with my mom in our childhood. Because there was an experience that I had with my mom when I was around, I want to say like 9. I think it might have been younger, but I don't know, when I think back, I'm like 8 seems very young, but let's say 9. Where we were on the road on the way to the hairdressers while we were living in Canada. And I was looking for some lip chap in my mom's purse. And what I found in that purse was condoms. And my parents had been married for 20 years. So I just knew that there was something off about it. Like, I just knew, even at that young age, I knew there was something weird about finding condoms in my mom's bag. And so I just like picked them up and I looked at her and I said, "What is this? What is this?" And I actually don't remember what she said next. I know she told me that she was having an affair, that she was having sex with somebody outside of my parents' marriage. And I remember that just like hitting me like a ton of bricks. And I even feel it kind of like in my body right now. I just really remember this like hot flush coming over my body and my chest feeling so freaking tight, and my throat closing up, and just like not knowing what to say, and just like being boiling in rage and anger, and just immediately wanting to lash out and freak out and scream at her. So like, how could she fucking do this to our family? Like, I was so enraged and hurt and just in pain. And I just couldn't believe that my mom would do that to our family, because it really felt like she was just destroying it. It felt like she was destroying our family for sex. I invite you to take a breath. I invite me to take a breath. And I actually don't know if I told the rest of my family. I am not sure if I told my dad or if I told my siblings, but I know that everybody found out shortly after that. Like, I know that it was known in my family, and there was all sorts of struggle around it with my parents, and they were fighting a lot. And like, it was shortly after this happened that we moved country. We moved from Canada to Ireland because my mom wanted to be closer to her family. And it just really felt like that experience was really pivotal in my life and really pivotal in my experience of what love is and is not, and like what can love withstand, basically. Because I saw that this affair, this relationship was the thing that was going to destroy my family. And somewhere in my brain, my subconscious coded that as something important. Something important that needed to be looked at some point. And so when I chose my last partner, I actually really recognize, in hindsight, of course, how specific it was that I chose a man out of all the men in the world that wanted an open relationship when what I wanted was a monogamous relationship. Because if you actually look at the imprint that was happening, if you look at what I was trying to replicate, it was the sensation of sex being the threat to the relationship. And it feels incredibly profound to me that I chose this man out of all the men in all of Berlin. I don't know what the population of that city is, but there are a lot of men. And I really see that, my subconscious was really guiding me to want to recreate this situation because it was ready. It was just ready. Because this was not a situation or a relationship dynamic that I had chosen before, like my other relationships in my life just didn't have this element. But I guess at that period of my life, my subconscious was just ready for whatever reason. And I chose this relationship before I had done any healing. And when I look back at that relationship in retrospect and I see all of the challenge and all of the pain and all of the beauty that it was, I really can see like the why of it. Like I can see why I chose him specifically. I can see like that he really truly led me towards all of the healing that I needed to do in order to radically shift my life. Because our relationship actually triggered me so much, because it led me to all of these places, all of these parts of myself that I was denying and repressing, and all of the parts of myself that I didn't really feel safe to step into. That relationship, as challenging, as painful, as dark as it was, also led me to do the healing that I needed to do in order to like radically expand my life. And he brought me to this very specific world, like this whole world of open relationship and polyamory and a Berlin sex scene and all of these things. Like all of these things were elements of the healing that I needed to do. And it's so specific. Like it is, our subconscious is incredible. It will bring you to the exact right person because of exactly what you need to heal. And it's just really funny because I remember going to this sex positive event with my partner in Berlin, and we met this incredible woman that was just at the bar. She was just sitting at the bar and we started chatting. And when we were asking what she did, she said she was a coach. So she was a coach and she worked with women around their sexuality and their sensuality, and she worked through Tantra, and just like I was really impressed because I really had never been part of this world before. Like I was somebody that was very disconnected from her sexuality and very performative and really felt very uncomfortable in these spaces that I was putting myself into, just trying to get, doing what I could to get more comfortable, just like exposure therapy, I guess. And I remember speaking to her and just thinking like, this is so incredible. Like I didn't even know that there was this whole world existed. And she was just like so embodied. She was just so calm and secure. And I was just like, wow, she's powerful. And we got each other's contact details. And it was funny because at the time my partner was kind of aspiring to be a chef. And so we were talking about her next retreat and she was like, well, maybe you guys come out and do the food. And, we were kind of laughing because we were like, this will never happen. What a random connection this was. But about a month later, we got on a plane and we flew to Sweden and we went to her retreat center and we did the food for the week for her retreat. And we also did event design because I was working as an interior designer at the time. And, it was really beautiful because she had around 20 women there. And it was really my first time seeing a women's retreat that was based around sensuality, sexuality, tantra, healing, coming back into alignment with yourself, power, self-worth, self-love, all of these things. And they offered that I could join the retreat and that my partner could do the food alone. And I said no. I said no, mostly because I wanted to be with him and I wanted to be part of it. And I actually felt a little insecure about joining the retreat. I didn't felt like I belonged in that world. But it's really interesting because I found out a couple of years later when I was retraining that actually that beautiful woman that we met that evening had done the same training that I had done. She had done it many years previously, and it was just like such a powerful and interesting moment in my life where I recognized this relationship with my ex-partner, the one that caused me so much pain and struggle and strife, it really led me to the exact right world. Put me in line to be connected to my mentor, put me in line to start to look at the world of sexuality and sensuality as more than just something you do for men or something that's for the outside world, or I really had this belief that sexuality and sensuality was primarily to sell things. I was numb and disconnected, so I really didn't see or feel connected to my own pleasure. So everything that existed in the world of sensuality and sexuality felt performative to me. I was so disconnected from it that I didn't see how it could be important because I couldn't find my way in, And so it's just really fascinating to me that this is the world that my ex-partner led me to so specifically. And there was so much healing for me here. Because when I finally came out of that relationship and I started coming back into connection with myself, I really started to understand that me being inside of my body and out of my head, so more in my feminine and outside of the masculine, understanding, was going to be the thing that really changed my life. Because I had been healing, from this breakup, I had been healing in a really cerebral way with my mind, going to therapy and talking about it with friends and learning and understanding. But it wasn't until I started to get back into my body with different tools around the breath or meditation or pleasure practices that I started to understand that actually me being disconnected from my body was the thing that was facilitating me to stay in a relationship or a life that I actually did not want. I didn't want it. And when I started to get back into my body slowly, thawing like ice, where you don't take ice out of the freezer and it's immediately water, it takes time. And it's the same thing when you're really disconnected from your body, when you hold a lot of numbness, when you hold a lot of unsafety in your body and contraction in your body, all of that takes time. And so as I started to thaw, as I started to get less and less numb, I started to come back into my body and start to be aware of the sensations and the emotions that were happening for me. I started to understand what safety felt like versus unsafety. I started to understand when I felt all of this anxiety and stress in my world when I was in contact with certain people, that was not the reality that I wanted to bring into my life. Because what I really realized is that my own solitude, my own company, my own relationship with self was really reaching a point where I felt peaceful. And when I was numb, you could have people came in that ruined that peace because you weren't ever really all that connected to it. And so somebody coming in and disturbing it just kind of felt okay, well, they're here now, so I'm just going to accept that. But when you're really connected to your body, when you're embodied in that peace, then when somebody comes in and they're tearing your house up and tearing your life up, you're holy shit, no, get out. And so I really recognized that my partner, he really led me straight to the door of all of the healing that I needed to do. But I was the one that had to choose to do the healing, because heartbreak really leaves you at a point in your life where it really feels like you're at a rock bottom. And from that place, you have only really two choices, and that is to push down everything that's happened and just push it to the side and just get to a point in your life where you can kind of stand up and you can kind of grip on to the next thing that will make you feel okay. And it'll probably be a same iteration of the same relationship, and it'll just be another echo, another mirror, another desperate grip and grab to hopefully heal those experiences of the past and the love of the past with somebody that can't ever do that because they are the same type of unsafe person as what you had in childhood. Or you actually choose to let that heartbreak be the thing that changes everything, that leads you and has led you to the door of all of the healing that you need to do. And then you actually choose to walk through that door. You come back home to yourself in a real way. You actually choose to do the work that it's going to take to learn to love yourself, to trust yourself, to stop abandoning yourself, to actually prioritize yourself, to really come back to what you want and need and dream of and desire in this world, to start to honor your boundaries and to start to follow your dreams and to start to put yourself at the center of every single choice that you make. And really, one of the most pivotal ways you do this is by getting back down into your body. By reconnecting with what it feels like for you to make certain choices or to be around certain people. To really become the version of yourself that is confident and secure and feels worthy in this world. To step into the version of yourself that expects more and dreams bigger. The version of yourself that actually holds a bigger vision for your life. That starts to look around and say like, okay, this is good. What I have, what I'm building, it's good. But how can I actually dream bigger? Like, what is the next illogical, crazy feeling step that I feel like might be the right step for me in this world? Because when you start to listen to those little nudges of intuition and desire, that's when life gets really fucking interesting. Because I think about that breakup and I think about all of the healing it really led me to do. And then I look at the version of myself I became and I just look at the choices that I started making. Like these choices that felt monumental from where I was. I had been living in Berlin for 8 years when I went through that breakup. And so after we broke up and I really was sure that that relationship was done and I started doing this healing and I started moving on this path and I started feeling more worthy and I started feeling like I needed to prioritize myself and I needed to start listening to myself and I started being back in my body and really looking around and being like, damn, I don't feel good here. And I picked up my entire life after 8 years of building my apartment and my career and like everything in that world. And I moved. I just moved. I moved to Ireland. I moved across the ocean because I needed to be in nature. I needed time where I was by myself. I needed to be beside the ocean. I needed to heal. And I knew that. I could feel it so deep in my bones in a way that I wouldn't have been able to do 6 months previous. Because I was actively ignoring myself at that period of my life. My sensations, my emotions, what I needed, what I wanted. And that was just the first of many insane feeling choices, Like I also decided at this moment in my life to leave my career of DJing and interior design. Like that felt insane. Because what was I going to do? And so I decided that I was going to retrain. I was going to become a love, sex, and relationship coach and work with women. Because the experience that I was having in this healing was so fucking profound. Because I was coming back to myself. I was learning to love myself for the first time in my entire fucking life. I finally felt worthy of doing the things that I wanted to do. I finally let go of the fear that I held around making all of these choices. I was coming back to myself and what I actually wanted to feel aligned in my life, to have a life that felt authentic for me, that felt dreamy for me, like being beside the ocean after 8 years of gray Berlin. Oh my God, it was a fucking revelation. And this healing was like me stepping more and more into myself over and over and over, and just like reconnecting with myself, reconnecting with all of the parts of myself that I had lost, that I was searching so desperately for in other people. And this healing really taught me that instead of searching for them outside of myself, I could actually call them all back in, just inside me. By being willing to go through the pain that stood between them and me. By actually being willing to sit with the wounding that was keeping me from feeling truly free in my life. From the wounding that kept me from feeling truly free inside of my relationships. From the wounding that kept me from being free to have a sex life that I actually enjoyed. And all of that to say is that this relationship with my ex-partner was the catalyst. It led me to every single one of these doors where I had the option, where I stood in front of that door and it said, what do you choose? Do you choose to heal your relationship with yourself? Do you choose to heal your relationship with love? Do you choose to heal your relationship with sex? Do you choose to heal your relationship with your body? Because these relationships that you're going to, they can lead you to the door, but they cannot open it or make you walk through. That's your choice. You are the one that has to say, this ends now. I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Because the life I know I'm going to live on the other side of this is going to be so magical. And I say that to you sitting in a beautiful home in the jungles of Thailand. A dream that I truly never really imagined that I could have. And now it's my reality. And I live it every day. And it's so fucking beautiful. And I'm so grateful that I made the choice to walk through those doors every single time. Even when it was hard, even when it was painful, even when I felt like I cannot do this a minute longer. Because all of the pain and the grief and all of the things that you're avoiding are the very things that are keeping you in a life that you don't actually want to live. But the beautiful thing is that this moment gets to be the moment where you choose to allow this relationship to change your life, to change you, to bring you back home to yourself. This relationship actually gets to be the thing that brings you to your own door of healing. If you're willing to start to ask the questions of like, what is it that this relationship wants to show me? What is going on in my relationship with myself that I am choosing a partner that hurts me in this specific way? Where are the echoes that I'm seeing in my relationship with my parent or my mom or my dad or my caretaker, however it looked for you? Because when we actually bring awareness to those links, to those mirrors, to those echoes, we can start to understand on a deeper level what we're being shown. You know? Like, where are you choosing somebody that cannot meet your needs because that's something that you really felt in your childhood? Where are you choosing somebody that gaslights you or that pushes away the things that you say and pretends that it's a different way because that's something that your dad used to do? Where are the relationships that are showing up in your life that are painful or challenging for you, showing you something that so deeply needs to be healed inside of you so that you can get to the next level of your life? And are you willing to actually show up to do the work that is required in order to let go of the pain and the grief and the trauma and all of the experiences that are standing in the way of you coming back home to yourself? Because what's the lesson that you need to learn from this relationship in order to move forward in your life and actually choose the evolution, the expansion to the next level? What is the deeper thing that is being revealed to you by this relationship? And are you willing to do whatever it takes to actually heal it? Because when you actually become willing to learn the lesson, this is when everything can change. And I see it over and over and over because I do this work with clients and they come to me and they say, I am in so much pain. This heartbreak, it is a repeating pattern. It is something where I'm seeing that I am not loving myself. I'm choosing people that can't meet me. I don't feel seen. I don't feel loved. I don't feel like I'm in reciprocal relationship with people. Like I am out of connection with my body. The sex is bad. Like all of these things. And what they want is to get away from the pain in that moment. But the truth is, what they actually want is to remove all of those layers that keep them choosing the same pain over and over and over again. The little girl inside of them that feels like she was never loved as a child. The part of them that doesn't feel worthy of the relationship that they actually desire. The part of them that's out of connection with their body. The part of them that is okay to hide the fact that they're not having an orgasm with their partner because they just want to keep them sweet. The part of them that's willing to give up how they want to be loved because they just want somebody to choose them. And these are the things that we're healing in coaching. And so I really encourage you to start to look in your own life and see like what feel like the patterns that are coming up inside of your relationships. What feels like the lesson that these repeating patterns might be here to teach you, to bring your awareness to? What is the healing that this breakup is leading me towards? What do I need to change in myself? What do I need to heal in myself that actually allows me to feel like I could be safe in this world, confident in this world, secure in this world? That I could love myself and prioritize myself and give myself the things that I actually want? What is the healing that would allow me to say yes when I meant yes and no when I meant no? What is the healing that would allow me to leave a relationship where I just wasn't getting my needs met and I knew that they weren't doing the work? What is the healing that I need in order to raise my standards on my life? Because these are the questions that will truly change your life when they're actually coupled with action. When you recognize, when you bring awareness to these things, and then you say, this ends now. Because the life I'm going to live on the other side of this healing is going to be so goddamn beautiful. And I don't want to wait a minute longer. I don't want to waste another moment of my life settling for less than what I actually truly want and deserve. And so I leave you with those questions. What lesson does this heartbreak have for you? What do you need to learn in order to make this heartbreak have served its purpose? What healing is this heartbreak leading you towards? What life is this heartbreak leading you towards? On the other side of doing this healing, what do you actually want? What does the life you actually want to live even look like? Allow yourself to get so connected to that. Because that is the thing that is going to motivate you when things get tough, when things get challenging, when you can actually hook into the life that you are creating on the other side. Because it gets to be so freaking beautiful. And you are so powerful, more powerful than you know. Thank you so much for being here with me today. This has been Heartbreak Alchemy with Alaska Wolf. If you enjoyed this podcast, if you got value out of it, I would love it so much if you would rate and review and share this on your Instagram. You can tag me at Alaska Wolf and really allow us to grow this podcast, to get the message out to everybody out there that is suffering from a heartbreak that they think they will never recover from. Because my mission in this world is to heal every single fucking broken heart, one heart at a time, by bringing you back to yourself. And if you're interested in knowing more about my work, you can go to alaskawolf.com. My program, The Essentialist, is all about healing your heartbreak, remembering who the fuck you really are, stepping into your power, and creating a life that reflects exactly that. I'll catch you on the flip side. You've been listening to Heartbreak Alchemy with Alaska Wolf.